that that this wasn't just an accident, that it could have been a concealed assassination attempt by President Robert Mugabe's secret service, Reza. I mean, well, who knows really? But I suppose it's probably not that difficult to orchestrate a car accident. We've got some pictures here showing the truck that collided with the presidential vehicle. He wasn't traveling in a motorcade like Robert Mugabe does. The speculation, if he had been, then things might not have come to this untimely end. The conspiracy here, you think, Reza?
Well, sometimes it's very hard to say what's going on beyond the scene. It simply could have been just a coincidence, and then it's been highlighted by press. But it could be seriously same as what Ayo said, and we'll see.
Yes,
I think that there's some striking problems here. Firstly, he's the Prime Minister. You would expect a Prime Minister to have a motorcade. Clearly, clearly a motorcade of some nature, clearing the traffic, preventing. So something like that should not have happened. But it also sends the news to also see that roads in Zimbabwe are quite bad. And also the recent revelation that the truck that actually hit him was an aid convoy itself, which was financed and supported by the United States and Britain. So, of course, Mugabe would be extremely happy that it was them and nobody else, because now more than likely you can actually say it might have been an accident itself.
Yes, the sentence here is the lorry that hit Mr. Changarai's car was operated by an aid project jointly funded by the British and American governments, and that all indications were that it was a genuine accident.
Absolutely.
Of course, the sort of link they make here to British American, and it therefore being a genuine accident, of course it may not convince everyone, of course.
No.
So conspiracy, it seems perhaps a bit like Diana's death, very much open to speculation.
I thought what was very useful was Mugabe quickly, with his wife, going to the hospital there to see Changarai. That was very supportive, and I think that would go down some way in actually diffusing such myths. But also...
Yes, or it was just so callous.
Well, one of the two. Or, and of course you've got the fact that MDC supporters are, if they get wind of the fact that it could have been a strike on their leader, who knows? We could have all sorts of uprising in that country, and bloodshed and all. So I'm just hopeful that Changarai can go rest and actually make a statement sometime next week and actually tell us that everything's fine, and it was an accident and nothing else.
Yes, I guess armoured vehicles are not among your armoury of equipment that you supply regularly to hospitals. Or bulletproof jackets. That's not among the kind of equipment that you supply.
That's really
not really. So you can't. You couldn't have been any help at all there then. Right. He has survived. This man, of course, has survived at least 3 assassination attempts already. And in March 2007, he was badly beaten up by police after being arrested at an MBC public meeting. So not a popular man, it seems, in certain quarters.
Well, he's popular among his people. He's popular on the MDC, but not among ZANU-PF naturally. Yes, it is true, he was beaten up. He clearly could have lost his life back then, and several other attempts have been made on his life. But I think it's the fact that he's come through this process or this trial leading on to him becoming Prime Minister, and to see him lose his wife at this juncture is rather sad, because it could affect his judgment in the future. We're not sure exactly how would he want to continue in politics anymore. Would he be the same man? Would he have the same ambitions? And of course, when you think about the fact that Zimbabwe has been an economy which has been in real trouble lately, he's going to need all the wit and all the will and all his faculties in place to address that problem.
Let's take a look at Le Monde today. It's, of course, International Women's Day today. There are several stories in this newspaper and elsewhere related to that theme. Le surcharge de travail des femmes africaines entrave le développement économique du continent. The excess of work, the burden of work on women is impeding, is hindering the development of the economic development of the continent. And this is it's a research study that's been carried out by someone charmingly named Jacques Champ. He has, from the Institute of Research, the French Institute of Research for Development, the IRD, and he's gone and he's actually minutely looked at followed what women actually do in their day-to-day activities, and he has found that in Benin, women spend 2.5 more hours per day doing work. Of course, not always paid work or recognized labor, but actually in domestic chores. I mean, the situation, this is not particular to Benin, I think. This tell us a little bit about the situation in Iran.
My knowledge about Africa is poor, obviously. You can help us more. But about Iran, I think more or less it's some culture. You normally don't see women in day-to-day work. However, recently the latest statistics shows that more women is going to study in the universities, and that's a very hopeful sign. So maybe a few years down the line, this culture starts changing gradually.
Yes, of course, it's worth reminding ourselves, I think, that the kind of tasks that women are performing in Africa, it's not exactly light work. It's the carrying of water and wood, obviously for cooking. It's of course looking after children, looking after the elderly, preparing food, looking after handicapped people. This is all the kind of work that is typically unrecognized and unpaid. And the argument of the person who's done the research is that if we were to recognize the value of this, it would increase the GDP of the country by between 50 and 100%. So, I mean, even if it's not actually paid, it would allow at least this labor would be recognized at least.
Yes, Jan, absolutely. It's a sad fact and a reality that women's lives across the world, but more so in the third world, in Africa, are burdened significantly. Most women who live in the rural areas, they start from 7 in the morning till 7 at night.
This is literally
they work endlessly. Their roles are not recognized. As a result of that lack of recognition, they're seen to be invisible, and there's no recognition, and there's very little reward for the work that they do. But I think it stems from the fact that women are not seen as an investment in the third world, and there's very little emphasis in terms of trying to address and promote the essence of women, and that is where we've been failing, because women are considered to be less of an investment, because more than likely if you invest too much on them, especially from poor homes, they more than likely would leave the home when they get married, and they would take away whatever you've put in them. And it's that mind change that's required at this junction. But it's also the fact that with the chores, as you rightfully mentioned, which is so many, we've got to be able to identify methods of actually reducing that burden. And I think in the article it does talk about using standpipes, which are piped straight into the village.
Right. Okay,
and of course that would reduce the burden of time that the individual lady would have to walk to go and fetch water, for example, which would be 3 or 4 hours.
Yes.
And if they do not have that constraint, it means that they can be freed up to take up training, access education, and that would allow them to be able to be more vocal, especially within their private sphere, and for them to be able to influence decision making at home and in the community. And over time we can see some change.
Yes.
And I think we need to go through that process in itself.